Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are in February already. Welcome to the February 28th, 2024 meeting of the Board of Oil, Gas, and Mining in Salt Lake City. We're going to start off with our usual briefing session. Director Thomas, would you like to take over here?
Thank you, Chairman, and members of the board. This is my second meeting officially as a director, and I can tell you honestly, it's been one of the best experiences I've had professionally. This team that we have at OGM is as exceptional as any of that I've worked with. I don't just share that with you. I probably say it way too much through the day, and they may be getting tired of it. But we have an excellent staff, all of them who are impassioned and driven to do the best work they can. I want to highlight a few things that I've noticed over the past 30 days since the last meeting. First, the three goals that I have as a director to continue what Director Baza had began and carried through will continue. Communication and efficiencies for the board and also the division are continuing to go forward. This was not scheduled, but I do want to highlight the cooperation that we've had with Mr. Begley and his staff, or the team that he's working with, in collaboration between the board and the division to improve efficiencies for the board and the division. The legislative session was a great way to start a roll. I really enjoyed, that's a little facetious, but it's been a lot of work. The legislative session wrapping up, I think Mike and I and our staff is going to start working together closely to improve things, to make sure that your time is best spent efficiently. I can only say that. We don't have any detailed plans yet, but there is unison on making things better for you all and for the division. And I appreciate that collaboration sincerely. With staff, the additional efficiencies we're hoping to improve is time of application for the operators, communication with the operators, communication internally so that folks know, especially staff and board members, know what's going on, when it's coming. I think it's very difficult to over-communicate on almost anything unless we're dealing with, confidential issues. But I want to let you all know that's gone very well, and I don't envision any roadblocks pushing through that into the spring and summer. Thank you very much. Additionally, transparency is one of the three pillars that the division is really built on. For example, I want to share with the board, your annual budget is roughly, pretty closely, about $204,000 a year. The majority of those funds have been spent on noticing, mailing, and all of that sort of administrative costs that the board is engaged with according to statute and law. A more detailed breakdown of that, I'm happy to talk with our fiscal officer and get that information to you, but I want you to know roughly it's about $200,000 a year, and a lot of that goes toward the the administrative cost. And we hopefully will be able to reduce some of that spend as we work together to improve the efficiencies for the board and the division. Finally, as I sit here and we were talking about how good the staff is, staff well-being is very important, incredibly important, and something that's sometimes taken for granted in other divisions. I can't say that's happened here. I think Mr. Baza cared a lot about the staff, and I know he still does, frankly. He and I are still in communication. But to preserve and increase the positive attitude we have in the division, people need to feel heard and appreciated. And it's a real treat to work with my direct reports and the supervisors to hear how they're advocating for their team, how they're communicating. People, we're going to recognize, maybe we're going to formalize some more recognition methods moving forward with some of our staff, especially the new hires, and just increase the communication and the recognition that we've had. But I'll say it's been a treat, a real joy, even with the legislative session, working and moving to Utah. It's a blast. My wife and daughter are still in Eagle, Idaho. We are looking for homes. That's probably the only negative that we've experienced so far, but I won't go into all of that. That's exciting. But overall, the role has been exceptional. I'm happy to answer any questions, or if I can't, get back to you on anything if you have right now.
Board, do you have any questions or
Great.
words of wisdom?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just thought I had as I looked out and saw some of the staff that we ought to do a tour. What do we call those? When we go out and see someplace.
Field trip?
Field trip? What is it called? Field trip's what I did in high school on the bus. But anyway, we need to get one of those planned because that's a fun time to go see a place, and then we get to interact a lot with you and the staff. So let's be thinking about where we could go.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you brought that up. We do have tentatively 3 legislative tours planned that we're planning for this year. We may be able to take some of the board members along. I think the open meeting law may factor into some of this. We can't have you all on a bus driving around, but I'll work with Mike and we'll figure out a way to do that. All right?
Anybody? Okay.
Thank you. I'll defer now to my legislative genius, Natasha, and she'll take over.
Good morning. I'm Natasha Baliff. I'm the Legislative and Policy Coordinator for the division. Not quite the legislative genius yet. I don't want that title. Thank you. So for the legislative bills, I will say that we have 3 full, so we have all of today, all of tomorrow, and Friday until midnight. So we're so close to the end, but this is kind of where all rules go out the window. It's free for all. All of our bills they have not passed yet except for House Bill 295. So this is produced water amendments. This one addresses the Board of Oil, Gas, and Mining's regulation over produced water, and then also addresses issues on water rights. So basically, the water that is part of the drilling process can still stay in that process. You don't have to apply for a separate water right with that. And that one, we had worked months beforehand, and it sailed through smoothly. That was probably one of the best bills that we've had in a really long time. And then House Bill 353, mining operations. This one is the one that's moving the public comment process from the end of the large mine NOI review to the beginning. And this also defines a substantive public comment. The idea behind this is we want more public involvement. We want them to feel heard. We don't want them to feel like we've issued a tentative approval and then we're going to consider public comment. Above that, it's just going to make the whole process more streamlined. We won't have to go back and edit anything and reissue a public comment. House Bill 373, this one came up kind of at the last minute. Environmental quality amendments. This bill does 2 things. So outside of OGM, it addresses DEQ, different boards and commissions within their department. And then this also assigns OGM with producing some certificates for pollution control facilities on properties under OGM's jurisdiction. So basically our inspectors are gonna see, oh, there's this pollution control facility. Cool, check a box, we're going to issue a certificate. They'll then take that to the tax commission and be able to get a tax write-off on that. House Bill 452, carbon capture amendments. This one repeals 2 different funds and replaces them with a carbon dioxide storage fund. This also addresses the board's authority to impose fines and also be able to direct deposit into that account. So I think there will be a little bit with that bill that we'll have to address with our carbon sequestration rulemaking. Moving on, House Bill 433. This is our Bryan Amendment bill. This is one that we also spent months meeting with the representative and stakeholders, all of that, trying to come up with a good bill. This one is a short-term bill, and it allows for a designation of multiple mineral development areas, and it also directs OGM to conduct a study on brine operations. So as soon as the legislative session ends, we're gonna get right on that, and I think we have until the end of the summer to do that one, right? So that one will be a pretty quick study. I think this year is just the year of studies for OGM. So House Bill 502, this is critical infrastructure and mining. This one will also require OGM to conduct a study. This one is going to be related to critical infrastructure material operations and any other related mining operations. And it also outlines who the division will work with. This one, stressing us out just a little bit, it is going to be a very big study, but we're also excited to hit the ground running. This one is still in the process. We'll see where it ends up. And then finally, Senate Bill 75, this is mineral amendments. This one deals with the mineral exploration tax credit from a couple of years ago. It does make some clarifications that we were asking for. It also removes a closed mine requirement, and then has a different, if the mineral is on the, I'm totally blanking on it. If it's more critical, then you can get a higher tax incentive out of it. So again, only House Bill 295 has passed. We're watching all of the others. This morning they cleared the boards and they're going to reevaluate the bills that they want heard, and we have given the governor's office our must-pass bills. And just for the record, we gave House Bill 433 and also House Bill 353 for our top two to pass. And if you guys have any questions, that is the legislative update for today.
Board?
Yes, Natasha, great. Was there any discussion on critical minerals? I see the critical infrastructure, but do we have any legislation on critical minerals in this session?
Not that deals specifically with oil, gas, and mining. I would have to go back and double check. I know that there has been some, but I'll have, before I give you an actual answer, I'd have to go check.
Okay, great. Okay, and then Mick, you picked up a bunch of extra work here. You gonna have any extra help to do this work? Or is your welfare of your staff gonna figure somehow to do that?
Chairman, Alan, good question. A little bit of feedback to loop in on what you just asked about the critical infrastructure. Understand that's mostly an aggregate bill, so it's not tied to the critical minerals in any way.
Yeah.
And actually, I was going to speak to this positively. It's a reflection of the reputation of the board and the division that folks are coming to us asking us to do these sorts of studies that could, in some ways, be somewhat contentious. It indicates, from where I'm sitting, a neutral reputation of the board and the division, which is very, very positive. Yes, the additional work specifically regarding the critical infrastructure bill is something that my deputies and I are carefully monitoring, and we have been in communication with legislators. Hopefully, there's funding made available to address those needs. Again, we've got 2.5, 3 days left in the session, so we'll see what comes out. I can't give an affirmative yes or no on that. Whatever funding is made available, we'll utilize that. And honestly, you get what you pay for, right? And so that's kind of our approach on that. The staff right now is fully utilized with current work. There's not, and I think that's positive, but there's not a lot of extra hours that we can use to do something this robust. We're working on it. It's a good question. I appreciate you asking.
So there's potential that you've got some unfinanced requirements in this list of 7 or 8 different bills?
Specifically, the only sort of ambiguity is around House Bill 502 currently. The rest of them, we think we've got funding available and staff available to do those other bills. Thank you.
Gordon?
Question on Bill 373 on the pollution control infrastructure. How is that defined? I'm just thinking of a lot of large mines I've been to, and there could be hundreds of components of pollution control infrastructure. And how much time could this take a field inspector during a visit to define? And
Okay, I'll do it. A good question, Chairman and Mr. Borden. 373 specifically is talking about oil and gas wells. It doesn't deal with any of the rocks, mines, or anything like that. There is currently a fiscal note attached to that. We think that we may need an additional, we intend to have an additional FTE to address that, but these are regarding pollution control apparatuses at oil and gas wells, not any of the rock mining or aggregate.
Thank you.
Selma?
On SB 75, is there a specific list of those qualifying minerals like potash, lithium, and all of that? Or is it just a generic description of the 30, if it's a net import of 50%, it doesn't matter? It doesn't give a list, does it?
It doesn't give a list, but it is pretty specific. I can send you the language on it. That's not something that I could immediately pull off the top of my head, but I can definitely give you an answer. Yeah.
Board, do we have any more questions? Okay, let's move to the next item.
All right. Well, the next item is still me, so you're still stuck with me. You're welcome. This is just a very quick rulemaking update. This is just going to be our current rulemakings and where they are in the process. So we have our oil and gas bonding rulemaking. This one we have currently, the draft is with stakeholders. It is being reviewed, and we do have a stakeholder discussion on April 11th. I believe this is the 6th round that we are conducting. We do feel pretty good about it. We apologize to the stakeholders involved because we completely restructured the bill, or the rule. Sorry, I have to switch to rules now. We're really excited for it. We're really excited for this discussion coming up on the 11th.
Will this be the last round of public comment or stakeholder meetings? I'm sorry.
I don't think it'll be the last. It'll be one of the last. I couldn't tell you if maybe one more, maybe two more. I think we're just gonna see
Okay.
how it goes. Yeah. Carbon sequestration, we just finished our initial review. It is a 40-page rule. That we're doing a few cleanup items, and then we are planning on bringing it to the board, presenting, at least giving you a high-level overview of it, and then giving you the language, and you're welcome to review as you see fit. Disposal pits, this is one that we have finished our draft, and we're currently coordinating with waste management and radiation control, and we're going to do a joint informal stakeholder process. So anytime we present the rule, we're also presenting it with radiation or waste management, radiation control, so that we can answer all of the questions at once, and it's not, sorry, that's not us, you're gonna have to go somewhere else for that answer. And that one, I think we're meeting either sometime this week or next week to come up with the coordination between us and waste management. Notice of opportunity to participate. I actually realized last night as I was typing this up, this is currently on me. I do need to send it out for stakeholder input. This will be a quick, very informal. If you have any thoughts on this, let us know before we take it to the board and ask for it to start the formal process. This will make the formal process go a lot easier in case there is anything that stakeholders have an issue with. We can change that before it's in the formal process. And then the large mine NOI clarification, this is one that you will be seeing next month, and this just clarifies a revision versus amendment. And that one is also out for stakeholder input, and again, it'll come before the board next month, and we'll ask for it to go into the formal process. And right now, that's about it. I know that a couple months down the line, we do have 5-year renewals for our coal program, and so it'll just me coming to you saying, here's all of our rules, and we still need to have these in place so that we can operate our coal program. If you guys have any additional questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Mr. Galecki?
Real quick on the large mine notification. As far as, is that going out to all large mine operators?
We do have, it's called an informal rules review committee, and it's basically like BLM, SITLA. I'm blanking all the others right now. We do have a short list, yeah.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
I think that's all the questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Natasha. Were you finished, Mr. Thomas? Are you?
I'm done talking.
You didn't want to discuss next year's or next month's agenda or anything? I don't know that there's anything special.
Not at this time. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. This is our time for an opportunity for any public comment. If there is anyone in the audience who would like to participate, please come forward. Seeing no one, our regular we don't? Okay, so council just advises me, we have changed this official starting times. If everyone is present and the board is present, I mean, the division is present. Okay. Mr. Begley tells me we need 5 minutes, and we will be able to start the regular agenda at 9:30 rather than 10. Good deal. We'll see you in 5 minutes.